Welcome to the Bank Marketing Show, the podcast that engages and informs you for success in today's marketplace. It's the show that will make you a better marketer with trends, tactics, and inspiration from experts and industry leaders. If you're wanting to impact your personal success and position your bank as the best choice in your market, you're in the right place. Now let's dive into today's show with your hosts, Chris and Dan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bank Marketing Show. We're certainly glad to have you listeners with us today and very excited about our episode around some very pertinent kind of hot topic stuff, too, with a dynamic guest. So, Dan, I'll hand it off to you. How are you today?
I'm doing good. And welcome. Today we've got Charles LeFevre with us. Welcome, Charles, to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited about this conversation. Quick intro, and we'll kind of get into the topic here. But Charles is the Director of Compliance Operations at Kadince, which is, you'll probably do a better job describing it than me, but a kind of strategic advisory and, technology firm serving financial institutions. You have been around the industry for a long time. You have some kind of regulatory background. You've been a long time, I think, 6-7 years teaching at bank marketing school. And we had a really good prep call leading up to this recording. I think we're going to get into some great topics today. Your role is focused on compliance. We're going to get into today, the compliance versus marketing battle and talk about AI and how AI is changing that battle along the way. So, give us a little more context on your background. Tell us a little bit about, Kadince in general and what you're focused on there.
Yeah, for sure. So, I like to say that I'm the Taylor Swift of compliance. So how do I make it fun? How do I find ways to actually bring these things to life that are generally pretty boring?
Very needed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. It is. Compliance, the reason why I got into compliance, there's many reasons, mainly because I needed a job after college and I had an English degree. So what do you do? But overall, how I got into it is I really hate rules. And I want to make sure that the businesses that I work for, that they can do what they need to and want to do. And the best way to hate a rule is to know them in and out. When we know these things and we're able to read into it and understand the text, that's what I love to do, to be able to interpret it, not just one way, but all of the ways that it's possible to be interpreted, because compliance isn't as black and white as everybody thinks it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. It's don't run away from the rules or try to get around them. Go towards them, go towards the light, understand the rules really well. And that's actually, I think, the path to be able to do more with them. You're right. It's if out of all the banks I've ever worked with, everybody interprets compliance rules a little differently. Some want screenshots of everything and documented histories and timestamps, and others are, we'll figure it out if a regulator comes in the door.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing between best practices too and compliance. Best practices is what kills compliance and compliance officers, that these aren't the real things. These are things that you heard at a conference somewhere that you've taken back to your institution. And it is what kills creativity so many ways. That a best practice, that's an air quote item. A best practice might be best for somebody, but it isn't always best for you and your institution. To me, a best practice, more times than not, is just the easy way to say no.
Yeah. Yeah. It starts with good intent of saving time or repeating things, but like we're going to talk about today, AI is, in the way banks are should be using AI is sort of changing all those best practices.
Absolutely. No, I think
Charles, in my agency, we work with about 70 banks and all over the place, and they're across that entire spectrum that you're alluding to. And from some that the compliance officer just it isn't even in the ball game, right, all the way to overly stringent and everything is way past the best practice. And it's just into how much can I say no? I like the way that you say that. And it's just not a good way to operate. So I think your take is more customize it to your organization's fit, needs, brand. Is that tracking with your thinking?
100%. And I think that having worked with large global banks and, with hundreds of billions of dollars in assets, all the way down to literally those with less than $100 million in assets, you have to right size it. You have to make sure that what you're doing, your approach is in step with your complexity. It's not even just a size issue that you guys know better than I do. There's institutions that their asset size is not a good indicator of their complexity either. You have to right size how you do compliance, how you do anything in reality, with what your institution looks like. You can't go to a conference. You can't necessarily listen to somebody and say, I can do this same exact thing because this is what, right, name X biggest bank, whatever it is, because they're doing it. You might be able to. And it might be really cool. It might be the best thing. It might be the thing that you absolutely need. But just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean it's the right thing for your institution. And again, when we look at compliance officers and think about all the doctor no's that are out there that we know that exist, most of the time it's because they heard somewhere oh, we don't do it that way. This is how we do it. And again, that's a creativity killer. Don't kill creativity. Don't kill your bank, your business. I hate that.
Yeah, well, on that, the first kind of area I wanted to talk about, right, was as AI is becoming more and more pervasive, right? I know several of my clients are kind of scrambling to create usage policies. It feels like 10 years ago everybody's getting on social media and trying to make social media policies and what can employees do and what can't they do and what do we post about and all that. And it's sort of the same same race to talk about how to use AI. And I'm seeing, I'm curious your perspective on what you're seeing banks do. I'm seeing across the board of we're not going to use it at all to fully embracing it, maybe except for customer data, but there's a ton of gray space in the middle. So what are you seeing banks do in terms of usage policies and what do you recommend?
Yeah, no, you alluded to it, right? You see the gamut. Everyone who is just strict no, we'll never do it, all the way up to hey, my preferred approach, how do we do it? How do we do it the right way? What is that governance process that we put around this to give the right guardrails that we do need? And that's the truth, that institutions do need guardrails because there are rules related to model risk that all institutions do need to worry about when it comes to AI. But when you are using AI as human in the loop or with a human in the loop, the need for those type of intense governance policies should really lessen and lessen. And I think that's the big thing that's needed is, okay, there's data security that runs everything we do with any third party really any business, but as a financial institution, we have that data privacy risk. We need to make sure we're safeguarding that. After that, when it comes to AI, is it a model or is it something that we can use as a tool? Is it like calling a consultant and getting some help? I think that's the piece where we get too confused and just lumping all AI, generative and otherwise, into the same bucket and saying no. But the reality is every organization has been using AI for so long, whether it is their spell check program, their predictive text, they're using it. And they're not, we haven't been worried about it before we were using it as two little letters in such a meaningful and big way as we are right now. So I think it's more a matter of reevaluate where you are today. What are you already doing in your spam filters and otherwise that is AI, quote unquote? Probably write all those things down and say, where do we want to go with this? And how do we get there? Not no.
Yeah, I as you were talking there, I was thinking, right, you wouldn't take a Excel file of all of your customers' social security numbers and bank balances and email it to somebody. Right. Inherently, we know that. But I wonder right back when email first started to be used at banks, if there was probably a similar little scare of like, no, we can't use email because it's just the customer data is going to leak. And I think it's the same thing. And I as technology progresses, right, it probably becomes easier. It's a little more tempting to like throw data into, ChatGPT type of tools and see what it comes up with. And clearly you can't do that.
Right.
But that's where the usage policy comes in is here's what's okay to do. Like, yes, use it to draft an email, but don't upload a bunch of sensitive customer data in order to draft the email.
Right.
Where, the usage policy should be more defining the line of yes and no versus, not use at all. Cause it's, if you've got, I talked to banks that have, we'll say we're not using ChatGPT. Oh, but we have Copilot. Well, same thing. And I've heard, I actually haven't run into my clients doing this, but I've heard of other banks who are like, oh, well, ChatGPT's blocked on our server. It's like we're using it on our phone or at home and then you run into problems that make the compliance issues even worse.
Right. Exactly. So much worse that if you go out as any organization and you say, no, don't do it, like what's the first thing that everybody's going to want to do, right? I'm a parent. I have 4 kids. If I tell them don't do it, all 4 of them simultaneously will go and do it. It's the same thing with employees.
That's right.
So don't tell them not to. They're just going to. Don't create this like subculture of it. Like find the way to allow it. And to your point about Copilot, like that's the best example to me that, not that Microsoft is the best by any means. This is in no way an endorsement, but, many organizations live in this Microsoft environment where you trust everything that Microsoft does. You have every bit of your information in SharePoint, right? In OneDrive. It all lives in the Microsoft universe. Like Copilot is a great way to actually tiptoe into AI. Like it's going to summarize that document. It already really kind of has access to that PII, that personal information that you're worried about protecting. So like tiptoe that way if that's what's needed. I think the caveat or the caution there is like, except for like if it's legal or things that you want to keep and make sure that nobody else sees and keeps protected under any type of legal protections. But other than that, like that's a great first use case for any institution out there.
Oh, and don't you think, it's so baked into every platform that we're using now. So to your point of just say, no, we don't use AI here. It's like, well, okay, if anybody in your bank Googled anything today, they just used it, right? It's on your weather app, for heaven's sake. It's, so Dan, to your point, even if it's not, maybe something's blocked on the bank servers, well, they're using it on their phone or they're, working remotely, so they're using a laptop. Anyway, it's just, so it's baked into everything that we do now. Again, with us as a marketing agency, yes, we're using generative and all these things, but it's baked into every little tool that we use at some level. Or, pardon me, Charles, and this may be to your point, it better be, because that's what's keeping us moving forward and all of that. And with banks as well, and do you think that even the smaller banks really may have an opportunity here to create efficiencies internally, those types of things? And I know we're going to swing to marketing here in a moment as well, which is a whole other kind of perspective and utilization on it. But even just looking at internal efficiencies, with utilizations of AI, those types of things, you really can move things forward here or kind of sit on the sidelines and do nothing, which is not a good mindset, I don't think. Do you?
Oh, yeah. No, I completely agree. I think that if I'm using my crystal ball that doesn't exist, it's going to be that humans are afraid of change, right? We know that. That's true. Every human is afraid of change in some way. And AI, this thought that like, oh, it's going to replace us. It's going to replace our thoughts and all of this stuff. It may be in some capacity, but why not find the way to work with AI now so you can be the one that's running the model or creating the model instead of being the one who's just afraid afraid of the model that is replaced by the model. Again, not that that's going to happen, but there's so many times that I see that folks are worried that it's going to replace my job. Well, I can tell you for the work that we do at Kadince and otherwise, but we create models that do look at advertisements, that give feedback on compliance to say, hey, this is what we think is right. This is what we think is wrong. This is what you can fix, change, right, to become compliant. Like, that could replace me as a consultant or otherwise. Or I could take another approach, which is like, oh, hold on, wait, like I can test the model. I can make sure the model's actually working because I'm the human in the loop, right, behind the scenes, making sure that the model's working the way that it should, and augmenting not one person, right, not just Charles, but every compliance officer, every marketing officer out there. And again, that's for whatever use case. Like, that's the power of it. Like, how do I augment the things that can be really boring? As a compliance officer, I hated, and I still do, I hated doing audits. I hated doing one-off review work of things where it's like, I know member FDIC is going to be missing, like things that you just know are going to happen that a checklist could do. Like, that's the use case for AI, in my opinion. How do I augment and get out of the things that I really don't like and save the time for the things that I'm really good at, which is like, how do we look at compliance strategically? How do I help my marketing partners or whatever business line think strategically and keep them inside these guardrails and make more time to do that by automating these really boring, tedious things that honestly, none of us want to do.
Yeah, like it's not fully replacing the function, but it's making it so that maybe smaller teams can get more done, or that get rid of the boring stuff. I like the way you said that.
Yeah, we're going to fill the gaps, Dan. Yeah. Right. I mean, we're going to fill the gaps. So if it makes saves 10% of your time, well, you're not going to go take a nap.
Yeah,
we're going to fill that. We're all too busy. So excuse me, Dan. Yeah.
Well, no, and I mean the next kind of thing I was going to ask about was just around. I mean, we're marketing and compliance working together, and this seems like an area of marketing teams often want to just launch stuff, right? Which is, countercultural to most of the way banks work, and especially compliance. And if AI tools are helping compliance move through the big chunks, it seems like there could be a path of marketing can do the first layer of compliance themselves, right? And it doesn't keep it from having to go to a compliance person for a real review. But if there's a tool that a marketer can use to just make sure it's got the FDIC, and the NMLS number and that type of stuff on there before it gets sent to compliance, that helps the marketing team move faster, helps compliance's job become easier. How do you think? I mean, how do you think about that? Like, what have you seen in marketing and compliance teams, working together, especially with AI scrambling everything this past year?
Yeah, look, I'm a big believer in the three lines of defense. So at bank marketing school 1 year, I tried an approach where I deemed all of the marketing officers, deputy compliance officers, because you're the first line of defense, right? You're creating the advertisement, you're creating the collateral. You need to know these rules because you are deputized as compliant. So I believe in that as the best way to do things, because when you're equipped in your role, regardless of what it is, but especially in marketing, that if you're equipped with the knowledge and wherewithal, then it lessens the burden for everybody. You're not going to be so disappointed when changes come through. You're not going to be so upset as on the compliance team when you see all this stuff is crazy and thinking, oh, do they know what they're doing? Why, if this, my favorite thing is like, well, if this one thing is wrong, then how much else is wrong? So you don't want to create that kind of atmosphere or culture or even thought process to anyone. If you're not the expert, AI is the easy lift, in my opinion, on the marketing side. Like being able to do that first, get that lift, raise all ships in reality, make it easier down the line. And that makes working together better. with the caveat of like, no, I am also a big believer in like marketing and compliance should still kind of be enemies because that's what they're designed to do. They're designed to be, pitted against each other in the right ways, in healthy ways, to be effective in challenging each other. AI just makes that easier. So there's less effective challenge, or the effective challenge can be on important stuff. Again, like actual strategy, like how far into marketing service agreements do we really want to get? Something that AI isn't gonna catch on an ad review. But like making sure on a strategy perspective that compliance and marketing are on the same page.
Yeah. I was just thinking of, when you're talking about compliance and marketing battling of so many banks I've worked with, the smaller ones tend to, a lot of them have a person that is half compliance and half marketing.
Yeah.
And there's always that internal battle of, I just feel some empathy for that, combined role like that of having to create stuff, but also figure out, what might be audited later, what additional checks there might need to be.
Oh yeah. I mean, marketing ops is so deep, and yeah, you're right. The like first line perspective within marketing or embedded in marketing that they get to be the bad guy. But I mean, it goes way beyond collateral creation too. Like, what attributes are we going to use? Is this a proxy for something that we need to be clear of or steer clear of for fair lending? So like those roles have to get so deep so fast. I have a lot of empathy there too.
Well, so what are maybe we talk about a specific kind of use case of like, as marketing teams are using, AI more to create and write a blog post with AI. And, we can get into the argument of you don't want to just publish, verbatim stuff that AI spits out. You got to still, there's some human editing. But let's kind of forget that for a second. Just say like, hey, like, marketing team is being able to, we can create 5 blog posts a month instead of 1 because now we're using AI and we can still move faster. Is there anything that compliance teams need to worry about there that they wouldn't before? Is there anything marketing teams can do to help the compliance teams better as their output is increasing?
I think the most interesting take that I have on this is like, don't be complacent. I think that sometimes it gets really easy to think like, oh, well, it was written. I've read 1,000 of these, and every time it gets spit out, it's going to be fine because we've done the right things. We've set up the GPT just the right way. Getting complacent when you're having these outputs and not doing the review, not keeping that human in the loop, like that's the thing that I always worry about, because in the few times where I've thought like, okay, like I'm going to skim over this paragraph and I haven't deep dived, I've regretted it. So I think don't get complacent. It's still just a tool. And to the extent that it's a tool, it's not always going to be right. So count the fingers, count the toes, right? Is it a symmetrical body if you're using it for image output? But same thing with words. Make sure that you're reading it, and for every long dash that it has, delete it, put a comma. Do those normal things. Make sure it's actually speaking like a human. Make sure it's actually telling the right information. Don't be complacent.
Yeah. I one of the dangerous things it does, right, is it tells you it knows everything. And it doesn't. I mean, you could say, act like a, bank compliance expert and make sure, all the compliance T's are crossed. And then it will forget to say, member FDIC, and it won't know that it forgot that. And you'll go back in and you'll say, hey, you forgot this. And be like, you're absolutely right. And, so yeah, I mean, don't be complacent is great advice. And it's hard, right? If the marketing team is 10xing their output or trying to, there's no way to make it 10 times faster for the compliance team. That's still going to be a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Charles, I like your approach too with the 3 lines of defense. That makes a lot of sense. And for our listeners, I think that's kind of a takeaway that they can even have a visual of, okay, and with marketing or creative, even if it's an agency like us, but marketing in the bank is still the responsible party for that first line. and what that is, and makes a lot of sense. So, talk a little bit more about your experience with marketing and compliance, given what you said about the checks and balances system and the necessity of that they're not necessarily, one and the same and in bed together and always friendly together, but at the same time, they do need to do the dance together, correct? And maybe how do you see that well done versus adversarially?
Yeah, I think that done well. So right now, I'm really obsessed with making AI music. And I hate to admit that out loud, but one of my songs is called "Secret Allies," which is about this. But that's how I see it working really well, is when compliance and marketing are really on the same page. Not that they have to give a front to make a show about being in any type of disagreement, but like keeping it professional in the fact that you do have to effectively challenge each other, whether it's marketing challenging compliance, which is what I would prefer. In why do I have to do it that way? Are you sure? That's not how I understand it. And here are the reasons why. That can be professional, but go into the break room, you could still be best friends, right? You could still be pouring each other coffee and we're doing whatever. That's how I see it working really well. Those are my favorite relationships for where I've worked in the past as compliance officer and otherwise, in knowing look, I like to find the way that people tick, what they are actually interested in, creating a true human relationship with somebody. And that's the best pairing of being able to work together and still being able to go and sit at the boardroom table and argue about something for the betterment of the institution, right? Not just to say no, not just to push my own personal viewpoint. I think that's what makes great teams.
Yeah. So I've seen an example of that could be targeting in digital advertising. That's a very present day one that we work with a lot. And, marketing says, well, can't we just target these zip codes or whatever, and of course compliance is like, no, there are other ways to do that. And maybe we run a radius around branches and, those types of things that can do that. And from that no, there has to be discussion. There has to be some strategy within that together for compliance to go, here are the rules that you can play with. Here's what redlining really means. Here's what, those types of things. And we can't have a regulator walk in here and call us on that. So here's the ballpark that we have to play within. Now you as the marketer, you figure out how you want to deliver, within those broad parameters. And that takes some communication, not just, and we were dealing with this just last week with a client of ours. And compliance was like, no, you can't do that without additional explanation. And then marketing sitting over here going, what do you mean? Because the CEO wants me to get this information out about mortgages. And I've got to reach, XYZ, and trying to reach first time home buyers was the example. And it's like, don't you think, Charles? I mean, they yes, I love your word of challenge. It's the job of compliance to challenge, but at the same time, there's got to be but hey, here's maybe some ways that we can do that. Is that going to help you in marketing still achieve your campaign goals?
Absolutely. And so that's why this is bidirectional. So effective challenge, the only way it works is if each team is smart enough to challenge each other. So compliance has to understand marketing more. They have to understand what it is that they are doing or trying to do by choosing certain attributes. If it's a zip code, right? If it's geographic, or if it's actual, right? Some type of personification that I'm trying to target, or otherwise. Like compliance has to understand what it is that marketing is doing in order to be able to, again, lift all ships and be able to explain it, because that is it. Same thing on the other side. Marketing has to have a greater understanding of why it is compliance wants this or is saying this or what the rule actually requires. So there can be that discussion. That teaching moment or those teaching moments have to come from each other. It has to be an explanation or even setting up the conversation of, right, starting it with, hey, here's our goal. CEO says we must do this. This is how we're trying to approach it. We don't see an issue with it because X, Y, and Z, compliance, what's your take? And then being able to provide that back and forth, I think that's perfect. The one thing that I would caution any expectations is that, like, especially for compliance folks that are generally introverted, have to think about it. Like, don't expect the decision in that meeting. So, like, patience too, especially for marketing folks, have a little bit of patience that they reasonably need to go and research things, especially when there's a challenge involved. But like making sure that there's space to do that and knowing, like, timeline wise, that we need to have the discussion. There needs to be time for effective challenge if necessary. There needs to be time for research in that effective challenge. And then we can go to production afterwards. Like that, I think build it into the timeline of your pipeline from your campaign perspective. That helps smooth these things over.
But I think too, maybe you could talk a little about, like, we talk about AI for marketing and, AI tools pushing marketing along, but the same thing's also happening for compliance, right? Like you mentioned research of tons of great ways to drop a 200-page, government PDF into an AI tool and have it, summarize stuff. How is the compliance role changing with all of this?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I forget how many pages, like, the old, now new, now defunct CRA rule was, but whenever we get new rules in compliance, we're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of documents that we have to go through. So, such an easy thing to do today. Have it summarized, have it highlight the points that you need to go back and read. I think that's the best or one of the biggest use cases today. Or double checking. So I love to use it as a double check. Chris, I think you said before about, like, the arguing perspective of these things. If I have a question, or if I'm like, I haven't done this in a while, let me go and ask ChatGPT or name the tool. I'll ask it, and there are too many times I feel like I have to argue with it. But at least I'm arguing with the computer and not a person. That helps make me smarter. I feel like that I'm learning something sometimes more than I maybe should admit or care to admit. Sometimes I've been wrong. And I've thought, like, man, like, I've always thought this, but, like, here is something that I learned from using this AI tool to try to research something quickly where, like, it's challenged my opinion and it's made me think differently about something or given me a new perspective on, like, this is an opportunity for somebody to take a compliance loophole or another way that people have said this is how it must be interpreted and turn it on its head. I think that's the way, if I was a compliance officer at a bank today, like, that's what I would be using it for right this second, every single day.
Love that about strengthening that relationship. Lots of ways to do that, Charles.
Yeah, and I think it's, I don't know, we're still it feels like AI has taken over everything, but we're still in pretty early stages, and then there's like how marketing's using it, how compliance is using it. And then it's like, at some point the regulatory bodies will catch up and there'll be tools. I'm sure there already are. It's not my area of expertise, but like then there'll be tools that, do AI audits and reviews and, stuff like that. So it's not, circling back to, like, what we started talking about here on usage policies and things like that. It's like, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. There's going to be new tools in 6 months that's going to change everything. So I think that, the big takeaways we've talked about here, right? It's usage policies that understand that. It's building relationships between marketing and compliance, not saying this is how it has to be, or we do things like this. It's more build a relationship because stuff is just going to be fluid for a while. And we need to, everybody needs to kind of keep adapting to it. Yeah.
And find the fun stuff too. Like, I'm serious. This AI song stuff, like, it's ridiculous, but it's amazing. It's amazing how these voices are so human-like. I'm literally making songs about compliance topics. That's like training. So like, why not use AI for whatever it is to make something fun, even if it's cheesy, like even if it's a dad joke, but make something a little bit more fun. That's the other opportunity too, to working better together and otherwise, like using AI to find ways, create the intersections if necessary, so things aren't so boring.
Yeah. Love it. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. We always end our episodes with a lightning round. And if you're ready, we can hop in there.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, share a personal or business best, something great that's happened to you recently.
Oh man, I think personal best. There's too many. I'm so blessed. I feel so lucky. Again, my family. This is what I do. I do every day for them to be great for them. And so too many there. Business best, I think, honestly, working at Kadince, which seems like I'm trying to sell something, but I'm really not. Like, what an amazing group of people, a team to be a part of. I get to go to work every day and work with literally the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. My grandma told me when I was growing up that I was smart and I was going to be disappointed in life by people not being as smart as me. And to every day I worry that I'm that guy that everyone's disappointed in. So like, I think that's a great reward.
Keep you on your toes. What's your kind of favorite book or other resource? Could be a business book, doesn't have to be.
Oh, man. Okay. So my favorite business book, I don't remember the author, but it's called First Break All the Rules, which I think is funny, but it's kind of intended to be funny. But it's the whole idea of every one of us need to be managed differently. Like we can treat people fairly in the same, but like how I react to situations is different than the way that you react. So break all those rules that we think like everything must be done robotically. That's what I love about it.
So it's that you're a compliance person saying break all the rules.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We'll write that down.
Makes perfect sense. Actually, it does.
What's the most impactful piece of advice you've received?
The most impactful piece of advice I've ever received was in a meeting, and we were talking about Regulation E, and I was like making this face of like, what are they saying? Oh my goodness. Like, I can't even believe this. And my coworker leaned over and said, Charles, like, I know that you know all of this stuff, but we don't. So like, can you help us know this better? Because I really don't want everybody to feel like you're treating them like they're stupid. That was the best advice I ever got, to know how do I curb my reaction and realize like, I don't think these people are stupid, but the way that I express this or the way that my face looks when I hear something, like that's really important in being human and making sure that everyone knows like, I'm here to help. I'm not here to look down on you. So best piece of advice I've ever received. Absolutely.
Okay. How about flip that around? What's something you always tell your team or your clients?
It's probably the same thing. Definitely in the past, like making sure we slow down, that we don't treat everybody like they should know what we know. I mean, that's first and foremost. Do not do that. Same thing with consumers and looking at marketing and like, don't treat them like they know. Don't use bank jargon. Don't be silly about that. We're quick to forget that we live in this every day and not everybody else does.
Yeah, it's right. It's human nature. If you've heard something 1,000 times, or you're a deep expert in something, to just assume everybody else kind of knows it. What else do you want people to know about Kadince? What do you want to share? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. So if people get in touch with me personally and otherwise on LinkedIn, so big on LinkedIn, I've recently taken the LinkedIn handle Talk to Chuck, which you may remember is the Charles Schwab old slogan. They let it expire, so they don't hold the service mark to it anymore. Now it's my LinkedIn handle. So yeah, LinkedIn, talk to Chuck. But please, seriously, reach out. I love to post goofy videos about silly things. Just posted a little message to the CRA. It had its 48th birthday recently. So there's a video of me out there doing that. Kadince, we're a software company that's built for compliance and marketing professionals, trying to make everything as easy as possible for what they do in their worlds, whether it's looking at marketing pipelines, making sure that they can get advertisements flown through, compliance reviewed, using AI tools embedded, not as an afterthought, but on purpose and with intent, making sure that those approvals go well. Same thing with CRA and community events, community involvement. A lot of great stuff there, but Kadince.com, great way to check those things out for sure.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll link all that stuff up in show notes. And I think now you have an obligation to post some of the AI music to your LinkedIn page.
Okay, good. Finally, someone wants to hear it.
I agree. There's going to be high demand for that after this episode. That's exactly right.
Like a Billboard Top 100 hit for a song about compliance.
There you go.
So the name, it has a band name too, and since it's Kadince related, and I'm big into the K-pop Demon Hunters right now, the name of the band is K-Dance. I think it's hilarious. So Kadince.
All right. Well, that seems like a good note to end it on, no pun intended.
Yeah, we will have that. We'll be on the edge of our seats for the newest release. And so, Charles, I just have one more question for you. I'm surely don't remember, but back in 2020, I was a student of yours in bank marketing school, and if any of you are on video, you can see my notebook right back here, and so I had tons of notes in Charles's sessions and all of that. So my question for you is, since you're the Taylor Swift of compliance, could I send that section of my notebook to you and just get you to sign it? Just an autograph? That would be so cool. And I could have it framed here in my office.
I mean, I don't know. I'm blushing. I don't know why you would want to do that, but absolutely. Like, I'll do a little signature placard. You don't even have to send it to me. You can just stick it on the page, Chris.
Be so honored.
Get a headshot of Charles in between the art behind you, Chris. And
exactly. That's right.
Be there in the background of our future episodes.
People will say,
"Is
that a bad Robert Downey Jr. picture?"
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Charles, for being on the show. This is great. This is probably more than I've laughed talking about compliance ever before. So thank you for being on. It's great to have you.
Likewise. Thank you.
And we'll talk to you and everybody else down the line.
Really great. Thanks a lot, Charles.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. To go deeper or get access to some of the valuable nuggets from today's show, go to bankmarketingshow.com. There you'll find episodes, links to resources, and much more. Be sure to subscribe wherever you find your podcasts. And join us next time.